I'm John DeSando.
Classics, let's go to the movies and share some popcorn, soda pop with our friends. Turn off our cell phones and get away. Night or day, it's John DeSando on the radio. We'll watch the credits from up high and low. Cinema Classics on
It's Movie Time. It's produced and hosted by John DeSando. Listen to broadcast shows Fridays at 4:01 and 8:01 p.m. and read reviews and listen to shows online at WCBE.org.
I'm John DeSando,
And I'm G Kline.
and this is It's Movie Time. And, well, let's trip back a little bit to the dial phone, the phone booth, and see it come back again 4 years later. Remember Black Phone 1?
Black Phone was a movie that you and I both really enjoyed.
Yes.
It was Joe Hill, who is Stephen King's son,
Yes.
wrote it. Very much in the style of a good Stephen King short story. His son has got his style down. And it was a terrific, best horror film, I think, that year.
Yeah, and who would have known Ethan Hawke as the
Ethan
bad
Hawke
boy?
as the bad guy
I
in the
know.
mask most of the time with his menacing voice and his dangerous character, the grabber.
Yes, you know, it's interesting. You can almost tell his success by the fact that his mask is immediately recognizable.
Oh yeah, he's joined the pantheon of
Yeah.
great horror film villains. And of course, a movie that was that successful, there's no way there's not going to be a sequel.
Well, there isn't, and my estimate, it's a good sequel.
It's a great sequel.
Yeah.
I am so happy to be able to say that this is one of those rare films where the sequel is as good, if not in some ways better, than the original. We don't get those. Usually the sequel is made on a shoestring budget to capitalize and exploit on the original film, but this is not the case. Joe Hill penned this one again. A lot of nods to his father's storytelling, and I really, really enjoyed this film.
And I think the changing it up, I believe, to some godforsaken Christian camp, and then and in wintertime, when you've got this ridiculous booth in the middle of nowhere.
Exactly. Well, of course, the original film was set in a small town in Colorado as the grabber was grabbing teenagers and they were disappearing. But this time the film explores the universe a little bit more. And this is more of the grabber's origin story. That's what I liked about this, is this film not only moves the story forward, but it also explores the backstory. So we get to fill in who was the grabber, where did he come from? Was the crimes that we saw his only crimes? And no, now we know there's a whole backstory to him. And in a nod to Joe's father, Stephen King, and The Shining, this movie is set during a blizzard at a youth camp in the mountains of Colorado, very remote, only a half a dozen people there. And they're buried under 3 feet of snow. So if you like those scenes at the end of The Shining, when they're running through the snow and the light is dark and somebody's chasing you, you're going to love this.
Well,
it's really a nod to that.
Just substitute Jack Nicholson for Ethan Hawke.
For Ethan Hawke, in a lot of ways, yes. Yes, only I think Ethan Hawke is a little bit more mysterious because he's a supernatural character, whereas Nicholson was just this deranged man who was under the power of the hotel.
He really did. And while I'm not sure that Black Phone 1 or 2 is ever going to reach the heights that Nicholson did in Shining, I think...
Well, you've got Kubrick,
Yeah,
running
right.
Shining.
It's interesting, isn't it?
One of the great directors and one of the great, movie series of all time. But yes, I think this movie stands on its own very well. If you haven't seen Black Phone 1, I don't think you're going to miss out that much.
Oh, I don't think so at all. With my memory, I might as well not have seen it. You have the memory that remembers all these details. I don't. That's why I like having you here.
There's enough information about the grabber early in the film that they'll bring you up to speed if you missed the first one, and then you can continue on. And I have almost no faults with this movie at all. The moments when the girl, the sister,
Gwen,
is in a dream are shot in Super 8.
Yes.
which it gives you this very grainy.
How about grainy? Yeah.
Yeah.
This is about as grainy as you're ever
Well,
going
and
to
I
get.
saw this on an IMAX screen, so imagine projecting
my
a Super
God.
8 on an IMAX screen,
Yeah.
but it's effective,
It
it
is.
works. It
It
also
is.
saved them about a lot of money too.
Well, yeah, and you know, this is the way that the grabber is making contact, is through her dreams.
Through her dreams.
Because really he's dead, right?
Right, he died at the end of the first
Finn
one.
took care of him and,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
phone won. And so this one means, and that's how ingenious it is. It brings him back into dreams and yet brings him back to the extent that he terrorizes everyone.
The child who can see the supernatural is a very common theme in Stephen King stories, and Joe has latched onto that. And of course, you had that in The Shining as well. You had the little boy who could communicate with the supernatural.
Well, you know that I just delight in anything that's close to Christian, Catholic, and and here you go. When I got to the people who were overseeing the camp,
The two the sanctimonious couple.
I just love it.
And Gabby just lays into them.
And her mouth is really acidic. It's great. She's
Yeah.
developed as a teen. She's developed.
And she's portrayed as the one who really is in touch with the afterlife.
Yes.
So when she lays into this ultra-Christian couple, she's doing so from a point of view of somebody who knows what she's talking about.
And Finn is there now more to oversee her.
Yeah, we don't get as much of Finn in this film
No.
as we did in the first one. This film focuses more on Gabby because of her supernatural connection and her ability to communicate with the children who have been killed at this camp.
Yes.
And this is interesting because this movie also is a nod to another Stephen King novel. I do not want to say that Joe Hill is stealing from his father, but if you've ever read the novel Bag of Bones, which is a very underrated Stephen King book that has been filmed, but I think was filmed as a made-for-TV movie, there is a lot of the story of Bag of Bones in this as well. The idea, although you would say this one is Bag of Barrels, or Barrel of Bones, Barrel of Bones,
yeah.
But it's very, very similar to that very effective story, Bag of Bones, mixed in with the setting of The Shining.
It struck me that there's a pedophilic theme here, particularly in one.
Oh, definitely in one.
You think he's a pedophilia?
Well, he's taking advantage of their youth and their inability to really stand up to him, and he's enjoying the fact that he is exerting power over these helpless children. This is all about power. It's all about him wanting to have power over other people.
And what do you think about heaven and hell? Now,
Wow, there's a loaded question.
As a Catholic boy, I've always been fixated on heaven and hell. I mean,
Well, I'm Jewish, so we don't
Right.
have heaven and hell.
You
We
don't
kind of
have it.
skip that part.
But you can look at it from the outside and look in and see how
Yeah.
obsessed we are with these notions, these absurd notions.
And this film explores the concept of what hell is.
Yes.
Which is something that really King, Joe's father, never really did. He liked to deal with the supernatural, but he stayed away to a large extent from religion. And Joe obviously is not afraid to delve into religion, and the concept that hell is this frozen, cold place that has taken every sense of good away from you, everything pleasurable, everything enjoyable, and left you only with the bad.
Some of the visuals, thinking about what you're just saying, the visuals, for instance, Under the Ice are very good.
Oh, they're excellent.
You know, how many of us have been on maybe ice skating or whatever and were worried about falling in, and while it rarely happens, in this case, we've lost 3 people,
Yeah.
young people.
Young people who went missing years and years ago and were never found. And that's one of the things I like about this movie is this movie has a momentum. It starts out with a momentum already in motion. Gabby is still getting these supernatural dreams. They're not going away, and she's being drawn to something. And as that momentum builds in the second act, when they get to the camp, it picks up pace. And then when Ethan Hawke finally shows up, it becomes even faster because the tension builds, and there's this slow building tension throughout the whole film. The only real problem I have with this movie, if I have any problem with it at all, is there's an abrupt jump cut from the first act to the second one, where at the end of the first act, they're climbing into the car with tickets to a Duran Duran concert.
Right.
And the next scene, they're in a snowstorm, 3 feet of snow on the ground, pulling into this camp.
Yes.
And there's nothing in between.
No, in fact, they dropped that whole Duran thing.
It disappears entirely.
Maybe just to put it in context.
How do you go to a Duran Duran concert in the city you're in and end up in the Rockies at a summer camp? There's no explanation, because the driver is not the girl, the driver is her boyfriend.
Right.
And how did she manage to talk him into this detour during a snowstorm? So that's the only issue I have with this movie.
Yeah, and I would say I don't have many issues with it at all. In fact, I always like to see more of the grabber.
Yeah.
But I think they're smart to keep the grabber away too much. In fact, there's more here, would you say, than in
There's more of the
one?
grabber here than the first one.
Yeah, the first one. And I thought the first one's virtue was that we rarely saw it, that it was really contained in that phone.
Yeah. The
And-
phone and the communications with
Yeah,
the supernatural, with the kids who died.
Yeah.
That was the element of the movie that really made the movie strong for me, was the idea of the supernatural, but always there's rules. And this is one of the things, when I was working with Stephen King in the 80s, he would tell me that his stories always had to have rules and limitations that the villains had to live by, so otherwise the audience would never know when the villain is in jeopardy. You have to have the weaknesses, and he has to tell the audience what the weaknesses are. Otherwise, you just think that the villain is so powerful they can't be defeated. And that I think, more than anything, is King and Joe Hill's key to the success of horror, is they give their villains a weakness, let us know what that weakness is,
Right.
and then we can see for ourselves how we might approach taking down the villain, and we also know when the villain is in jeopardy.
Well, I know that our audience will be interested in other horror films that you might dredge up out of that endless memory of yours. But right now, if they want to hear more about that, they're going to have to go to our podcast experience, which we know is highly ranked, and it's called Back Talk.
Thank you, Feet Spot.
Thank you, Feet Spot. And so what do you advise about this film?
Well, for me, the fun of this movie also was remembering that I worked with Joe Hill when he was an 8-year-old boy on the set of Creepshow, playing the little boy with the comic book. And now he's the fellow who's continuing, I think, in his father's legacy, even though his father's still around.
Yes.
And doing really good work. Now, I don't see anywhere that this franchise can go after this movie. I think this is done.
That was going to be my question for you, and we can talk about
Yeah,
that
but
later.
I say definitely, if you enjoyed the first one, go see this. And if you never saw the first one, still go see this. This is the year's best horror
But
film.
Ken, it must be very difficult to turn down the possibility of a third when the first two have been so good.
It is, but I think Joe Hill's got other ideas that he can make good stories of as well.
I'm John DeSando.
Cinema, 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 cinema. Classics, let's go to the movies and share some popcorn, soda